Thank you for staying tuned to Smart24 Television, where we believe in driving business this morning. My name is Jane Kasumba. I'm a commercial lawyer and I'm attached to Smart24, where we believe in driving business for you, making sure that you're able to navigate those potholes, those business potholes, to a business solution of your choice. And that's erstwhile for your business, and that can ensure that you're able to indeed make that right business decision. I just want to say a special thank you and a special welcome to all of you who are watching us from around Africa. We've just got a news today that we're being watched in Central African Republic. We welcome you. We're also being watched in Equatorial Guinea this morning, in Gabon, in Mali, and of course in DRC, in Congo, and also in Zambia and Lusaka. So a big welcome to all of you who are watching us via DSTV and all our other platforms. Still in studio with me is Godwin. And Godwin, as you wrap up your segment, I know the issue of opening of visas restrictions for all Africans to the Kenyans to Kenya is of great interest for people in the region.
It is. Good morning, Jane. It's definitely an interesting conversation to be had, and it's a significant conversation, especially regarding regional development and regional trade, and how that is going to be bolstered amongst the East African region as well as the African region. As we know, we have the East African community recently added on was Democratic Republic du Congo, and we're able to see that that's an interesting conversation that they're having as well, of being able to lift visa requirements as well in Congo. So we're going to see a lot of more trade relations happen, and I'm interested to see how this is definitely going to bolster the tourism conversation for Kenya, and not just Kenya. I wonder if the other East African countries are going to be able to piggyback off of that economic spill-off effect from Kenya, because we're going to think, oh, everyone is getting into Kenya easy, might as well check out the other countries. Historically, we've seen that a lot of the examples that we've seen of what this visa reduction has definitely done for countries. We see Ethiopia, it increased trade relations with Kenya and Ethiopia by 25%. Can you imagine that? And we saw that happen with Rwanda. Trade relations increased by 40% once the visa requirements with Kenya were taken off with Rwanda and Ethiopia. So we also see with Tanzania, with the Democratic Republic of Congo, once those visa restrictions were lifted, the trade increased by 50%. So we're definitely going to see this help Kenya in a big way, and hopefully spill over to the rest of Africa, which is an amazing conversation to be had. And obviously, typically we've seen in many African countries there's been such a tight-knit restriction, right?
Very strange.
We see countries like Nigeria, which is shocking, the top country in Africa with one of the highest restrictions. Apparently they almost do checks all the way to the 10 last travels that you had before you get into Nigeria. So it's important to see that this conversation is possibly going to allow other countries to start to say, how can we start to lift and benefit from this trade improvement?
And I think that is what the discussion is all about, the issue of lifting visa restrictions and how important it is, and what the benefits it's going to come with for Kenya, because their president, His Excellency President Ruto, this week stated by December that they will be removing all visa restrictions for all African nationals. And of course, there are some pros and there are some cons to that decision, but pretty much as we prepare for the African Continental Free Trade Area in all earnest, it's important for Africa to remove, and African states to remove all these kind of stringent barriers that have separated our peoples for so long.
And I also believe it's definitely going to help bolster the economic growth within the different countries, right? It's going to open up the conversations regarding infrastructure development for those countries. It's going to open up those conversations regarding being able to exchange ideas within these countries, because there's kind of like a freer conversation to be had. We're going to have a lot more investors come in, because if you see countries like Sudan, there's also one of the stringent measures they have on goods. The customs is quite high. So this allows the people to look at East Africa, because Kenya is representation of East Africa, we cannot forget, and we're hugely represented by them. It's definitely going to open up those intersectionality and conversations to be had between the East African region as well as Africa.
Well, a special thank you to Godwin. Godwin will be leaving me now. You're tuned in to Smart24 Television, where we believe in driving driving business. This is a business insight segment, and of course our discussion is going to revolve around the lifting of visa restrictions for African nationals to Kenya. That happened last week. His Excellency President William Ruto stated that they can no longer be bound by barriers. They want their African brothers and sisters to have easy access to Kenya and what Kenya has to offer to all Africans on the continent. And of course, with the African Continental Free Trade Area starting to really move like a juggernaut in earnest, it's important for us to remove those barriers. We're going for a quick commercial break. You're tuned into Business Insight. After the break, my guest, His Excellency Ambassador Kiema Kilonzo, shall be joining me live and free in the comforts of your home, straight from Nairobi. I'll be back after this quick commercial break.
Smart24, driving business. Smart24, driving business.
Luxury redefined at Seasan Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasan Hotel, so visit today at Plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasan Hotels, luxury redefined.
Smart24, driving business.
Farming practices are evolving in incorporating new technologies to address the challenges of agriculture, especially in arid regions like United Arab Emirates, UAE. UAE's commitment to modern farming techniques is essential for ensuring food security and sustainability. The UAE has embraced modern farming practices, which likely includes hydroponics, aeroponics, and other advanced technologies to grow crops efficiently in desert environments. The adaptation of modern farming in desert areas is crucial for countries like UAE, where traditional agriculture may not be feasible due to limited water resources and harsh environmental conditions. Mentioning the world's largest vertical soliless facility in Bostania showcases the innovative approach to agriculture. Vertical farming allows for maximization space and resource efficiency, producing an average of 3,000 leafy greens daily in a significant accomplishment. This efficient production can help meet local demand for fresh produce and reduce the need for imports. Saving 95% less water is a remarkable achievement. In water-scarce regions, conserving water resources is crucial for sustainable farming. The absence of pesticides highlights the commitment to environmentally friendly and sustainable farming practices.
Smart24 Driving Business.
And that was announced by His Excellency President William Ruto. That was last week. But on call and live via Zoom, all the way from Nairobi this morning, is our guest. Our guest is Ambassador Kiama Kilonzo. He's not just a politician, but an esteemed diplomat as well. His last posting was as ambassador to Uganda, from Kenya since 2018, and before that he served as Kenya's ambassador to Turkey. Before his current assignments, he served for 2 terms in the Kenyan Parliament, presenting present-day Kitui East constituency, at the time known as Mitito constituency, from 2002 until 2012. So on call this morning is Ambassador Kiama Kilonzo. Your Excellency, good morning from Nairobi.
Good morning, Jane. How is the Pearl of Africa?
Africa is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. How is Nairobi this morning, Your Excellency?
Blessed with the showers of rain as we wait for the arrival of King Charles today.
And that's why we have you as our esteemed guest today. We're going to be talking about 2 things. First and foremost, His Excellency William Ruto has been really doing some shuttle diplomacy across the world. We've seen him in the United States, we've seen him in Asia, we've seen him in various parts of Africa. We've seen him actually, I think last month he was here to see His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. So he is a man on the move and creating opportunities for many Kenyans. So Your Excellency, this morning, I just want to know, what is your morning like in Nairobi before we get down to business? What do you do every single morning?
Oh, right now I'm very busy. I'm running a consulting firm on issues of diplomacy and conflict resolution, and as well as other businesses which I do on the side. But other than that, I'm also very much active on the day-to-day happenings in the country. You know, once a leader, always a leader.
True. Once a leader, always a leader. And just to mention as well, besides being an esteemed diplomat and also serving twice in the Kenyan Parliament as a member of Parliament for Mitito constituency, His Excellency Kiama Kilonzo is also the chairman of Emin Pasha Group Hotels, one of the leading 5-star hotels here in Kampala and in the East African region. So, Your Excellency, let me get down to my first question. Last week or a week or so, His Excellency William Ruto stated that it's important for Kenya to lift visa restrictions for all African nationals, and that will take effect in December. Tell us a bit about that, and how important is that move for Kenya, for the Kenyan economy?
even before I get to the Kenyan economy itself, let me say that Africa has always been one prior to 1884, 85, when the Berlin Conference happened, and people sat somewhere in Berlin over a cup of coffee, and they partitioned Africa without the consultation of any of our people in there. None of the participants of African continent was there. Therefore, these divisions have had a negative effect on the economy of Africa. Nobody is interested to deal with small economies anymore. Come to the Pan-African leaders after the independence. You remember those who were for the thoughts of Kwame Nkrumah at the time. Kwame was thinking of one Africa, where President Nyerere, God rest his soul as well, he was thinking of having Africa divided into 4 continents, to 4 parts, where there would be the Maghrebs in the north, the SADC in the south, there would be the ECOWAS in the west, and the East African in the east. That is how the leaders, the Pan-Africanists, saw it, because they realized that balkanized in small groups, we cannot get anywhere in terms of punching weight in the globe. Imagine, for instance, if today China, with a population of 1.5 billion people, sits down with, take a country like Rwanda, with less than 20,000 people. That's not a negotiations of equals. And therefore, Africa must pull together so that when we sit down as Africa with a population of 1.7 billion, the other parts of the world can listen to us. They partitioned us and they left themselves united together. Look at Europe today. You can move all over Europe without any need to to convert your currency. They are using the euro, and they're also using the Schengen visa. Yet to Uganda, you need a different visa. From there, you go to a country like Somalia, you need a visa. You go to SADC countries, you need a visa. It is not economically viable. Hence, President Ruto, in his wisdom and appreciating the fact that economies must be big and working together, and also taking into account the historical perspective that the first man historically originated from Kenya. Maybe you people don't know that. All people started in Kenya in a place called Turkana.
We didn't know that. Your Excellency, we didn't know that.
It's historical, it's documented. The first man, if you read about the histories of the early man, you'll find it came from Kenya in Turkana. Therefore, President Ruto has seen it wise as Africans to be able to move freely in Kenya without any visas. That by itself shows that trans-Africa trade would increase. And that is the point I want to emphasize on. And that's the way I'm seeing this visionary leader having thought about before arriving in these decisions. If they are criminals, of course, there's a...
So I think, Your Excellency, if I can come in here, what does that mean when we talk about the removal of visa restrictions? Does that mean that all African states will be able to go to Kenya? All African nationals will be able to go to Kenya with no visas at all?
Absolutely, absolutely. You pick your passport, you come to Kenya, and will also open up business opportunities for you, investment opportunities for you. Kenya is home. Of course, when you come, you have to come with your documentation. If you're coming from Uganda, you'll come with your document to show that, yes, I come from Uganda, and you just enter into Kenya. You follow the rules of the country if you want to do any business, and the government is going to facilitate you to be able to settle in this country. We believe this earth belongs to all of us. Now, why was this decision arrived at by His Excellency? And I don't hold brief for him, but having been my friend and having worked with him for a long time, I understand he's one of those presidents who thinks Africa, and not only Kenya, Africans must have their place on the table. One is that the trade within Africa itself, the 54 countries trading within themselves in Africa, is at less than 12%. In fact, East Africa is the highest. EAC is the highest at 15%. If you look at SADC, you look at ECOWAS and Maghreb, they're trying to catch up. East Africa is a country, is a union of 7 countries, and we are at 15%. So we are saying, why can't we trade within ourselves? Why can't we remove the NTBs, the non-tariff barriers, so that we can engage? It is easier for a Ugandan to bring tomato to Zambia or to Congo. No one is going to ask the Ugandan whether this one is organic or what pesticides it has used to grow. Yet if you go to Europe, there are so many restrictions. You find sometimes even our own produce are not allowed there. I want to believe that the best pineapple comes from Uganda, and you know that, Jane. But to get that pineapple, to Uganda, to Europe today, they will tell you they want it not weighing more than half a kg, for instance. If you want to bring it, if you want to take it to Somalia, they will not give you such restrictions. And that is why our president is saying, come to Kenya, do business with Kenyans, as long as your documents are clean. That way, we are going to raise trade within ourselves.
I think that is a very welcomed aspect of the visa restrictions lifting. And I think what you said was very important, the Berlin conference, which certainly played a role in making sure that Africa is partitioned under very unfair guidelines and under very unfair territories, which still plague us to this day. Now, what are the benefits of lifting these visa restrictions before we come to the negative aspects of it, Your Excellency?
One, there's local tourism. I've been around now, I'm 56 years. I have never seen a country like Tanzania, a country like Zambia, a country like Uganda issuing visa restrictions against Kenya and vice versa. So when we lift visa restrictions to Kenya, it means there will be inflow of tourists. I hold the view that the tourists who come from within Africa to visit Kenya bring premium than those who come from other continents. And I'm not saying those who come from other continents are not welcomed, but I see more benefits with that. We earn more foreign exchange by these tourists coming from South Africa, from Tanzania, from within Africa. So that is the first benefit. The second benefit is on trade. I alluded to that earlier when I said that intertrade, you find goods coming from Nigeria, Ghana to Kenya, and vice versa increase due to non-restriction of visas. 3, and more important, we want Africans to learn their own continents and also to know that they are welcome in Africa, in Kenya, and they can settle here. That's just some of the benefits I think the visa restrictions bring.
Pointing out the fact that on two fronts, that it is important for tourism, it's important for trade, and will help boost the Kenyan economy without a doubt. Your Excellency, if I can bring you in here, there are of course those who are critics and who are critical to this move of visa restrictions. They say that if you lift visa restrictions from all to all African nationals, we will indeed, yes, get a lot of benefits. But there are also some challenges that come with it. What do you think are the challenges that might be faced when one lifts visa restrictions across the board?
On the contrary, I see none at all, other than the fear which is associated with Africans, saying, you know, thieves would come, unscrupulous people will come, terrorists would come. That is why we have a robust security system to vet those kind of people who would want to come here and harm the country or do things which are not within the law. Looking at the current situation, anybody from Europe can walk in Africa, and don't need a visa. Why is it that Africa discriminates itself? Why can't we allow our very own to walk in? So therefore, the issue of insecurity, I think that can be dealt by the security apparatus. Number 2, people talk about loss of income in terms of the money which will be paid for visa. Surely, the money which is paid for visa within Africa is very negligible. To come to Kenya, for instance, or to go to another country, you pay $30, $50. That we can waive it for our people, because the visitors who come here, they would spend more than the $30, $50 which would be gotten from the visa fee. And therefore, I think I need to tell colleagues who are of that thought just to relax. What we lose in terms of visa fee can be recouped from the investment and the expenditure which people spend when they're in the country. And those are the only 2 fears I see.
Pointed out that all unscrupulous individuals, or those who are up to no good, shall be handled by the security apparatus. And I think what you also stated that was also very poignant is that if people from perhaps the West or Caucasian people can freely move in Africa, why can't our fellow brothers and sisters in Africa also enjoy that right as well? And I think the time to open up borders is now, and for us to be a unified and more formidable Africa. I agree with you 100%, Your Excellency, on that note. Lots of things are happening in Kenya, and that's why we also invited you to be part of this show. Many years ago, I think you will get. I think in the 1960s or so, the late Queen of England was by then princess. Well, she was the princess at the time. Was honeymooning, I think it was, at treetops in Kenya, and that's when she got news and word that her father had passed away. And by the time, they say that she was up in the treetops hotel, by the time she came down, she went up as a princess, she came down as a queen. So Kenya has a lot of connection with the British royal family, and a lot of events have happened between those two countries. Your Excellency, this morning in Kenya, I know you're preparing to welcome now King Charles and Queen Camilla to Kenya for the first time. What does that mean to Kenya to have such regal guests arrive in your country?
There is already a lot of excitement, and like I've said, as this show is going on, there are showers of blessings. It is raining now, and it has not rained for a while. And you know, African culture is that when we are expecting a visitor and it rains, we believe that those are good tidings, that the rains are good blessings. But on a more serious note, the relationship between Kenya and Britain has continued growing from strength to strength. In terms of the bilateral relations we have had, we have got a lot in common. British investment in Kenya is quite substantial. Right now, they are helping in some of the major projects. I think among the ones which would be discussed is the High Falls Dam, which are huge water projects, dam which is going to be built around the Tana, where I come from, in my county of Kitui, and that is quite something. They are also looking at how we can partner in terms of technology and also resources on how to start a light train, the metro within the Nairobi city, which I think it is quite something. Military have also been training together, you know, because of our neighbors of the north and the challenges from the side of Somali. There also has been the issue of the Al-Shabaab, which also they have been helping in terms of technical expertise. And therefore, I think coming of the king here is also a good signal that Kenya is the place to be in terms of tourism. And also, Kenya being the headquarters of UNEP. You know very well, President Ruto is a scientist who is very passionate about environment, and King Charles has also been very passionate about conservation of environment. So there is emergence of interest in the conservancy of environment by the two leaders. From the itinerary I'm seeing, he will be visiting both the city. He will be also visiting part of Mombasa, where he's going to be meeting the leaders of the Islam in one of the mosques. That signals tolerance of religion, knowing that King Charles is the head of the Church of England, and is meeting with Muslim leaders in the mosque. I think that is quite a positive signal in terms of we being able to tolerate each other when it comes to the issue of religion. I don't think religion should be used to divide us. It should be used to join us, to bring us together, because the main element of religion is love. And all these religions talk of love one another. However, the downside of it, I must say, there is also conversation going on in some quarters where Kenyans are also feeling that because of the atrocities which were visited to Kenyans, especially the Mau Mau, by the British during the colonial time, it is about time the British government, and the head of the British government is the King Charles himself, should give a public apology on what the colonial government, the British, did during that time. Otherwise, we are waiting for the King, but we are saying, welcome the King, but let's have a conversation.
Conversation on reparations is very, very important, and it has been ongoing. It is actually in the courts at present, and I'm sure during his visit this time round, King Charles will have to touch on that matter. Uganda hosted the Queen for the Chogam Heads of State, for the Chogam Heads of Government meeting in 2007, and what a spectacle it was. A lot of preparations went into ensuring that the Queen had a lovely stay. I think it was a 3-day official visit for that conference here in Uganda. Your Excellency, if I can bring you in here, what are the preparations like in Kenya as you welcome King Charles? Have these been ongoing preparations? Because I think this is his first time as a king to visit. This will be his first country to visit as King Charles.
That is true. I'll surprise you. I'll surprise you, Jane, and the audience, that the preparations which are going on are actually minimal. Why? Because Kenya is always prepared for such leaders. Yeah, if you come to Nairobi, sorry for those who have never been to Nairobi, and we are welcoming you that now we don't have visa restrictions. You'd imagine you are in a European city. Nairobi is sparkles. Nairobi sparkles. It is clean. Whatever is going on is the usual processing which you do when visitors come. But by and large, we are spot on. The only thing, of course, which would be expected is a bit of disruption on the traffic flow. But we are ready for the King.
A visit of this magnitude of the King of England and the Queen of England to Kenya does come with some perks. What boost do you think it will give to the Kenyan economy?
Yes, I'd alluded to that earlier when I talked about we would be expecting definitely tourism to do well. You expect the travel agents, for them Christmas has come early. We are looking at the King also pronouncing some partnership. As Kenya and President Ruto has been very keen and very deliberate on this one, he has said, we are not going to be asking for aid anymore. We want opportunities to be on the table. We expect when the King comes to visit the concert technologies, which is going to be like our Silicon Valley, where young Kenyans are doing marvelous. Don't forget we are the ones who invented the money transfer, the popularly known M-Pesa, which now has been replicated to many countries in Africa, and it has been replicated to even many countries in Europe. We are saying we have what it takes. What we are looking for is an engagement where the way we opened our country to do business, the British should also open theirs. We do not want to see a situation where for Kenyans to do business, there are some restrictions in the UK. We find it is even difficult in terms of bringing in our goods because of protectionism. We want them to be able to open our fresh produce, our exports to get into this country. We want to look at where we can have JVs between the British government, the country, the British companies and the Kenya companies. We want them to give support in terms of the startup companies where young people are starting. More so transfer of technology as opposed to AIDS. These are the engagements which we want to have with the British people when the king arrives here.
Good morning, Your Excellency. I am aware that President Ruto has been going through or pursuing a shuttle diplomacy of sorts, or shuttle travel across the world. We've seen him in the United States, we've seen him in France with President Macron, we've seen him in South Africa, seeking for business opportunities for Kenya. Can you let us know what other opportunities are on the offing for Kenya?
There's quite a bit of opportunities for business in this country, and I want to agree with you that His Excellency Dr. William Ruto has been in many countries. He was in the US the other time, and he visited the Silicon Valleys, where we want Kenya to be the hub of technology in Africa. So those who want to get involved in issue of technology in Africa are more invited. And I'm sure that is what the President, and even we as Kenyans are saying, come in, we do business here. This is a country which has no restrictions in terms of repatriating your foreign currency. And as long as you do your business and pay taxes, then you can repatriate your profits. In terms of security, we have the most robust security with the region. So when you are in Kenya, very safe. When it comes to the issue of land tenure and other things, any foreigner can own land, can purchase land in Kenya and invest in this country. We all belong, Kenya belongs to the international bodies of arbitration. Hence, you are not coming to a country where you'd find you are doing business and your business can be taken away, like it said in other places. When you are in Kenya, believe you me, you can be you're working like you are in any other capital cities in the world. In terms of affordable houses, the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, which is the manifesto rolled out by the President Ruto, wants to build 250,000 affordable houses every year for the Kenyan people. So I want to ask, and this is the appeal the government is making for everyone who wants to invest in affordable housing, they are also welcomed here. In terms of agriculture, affordable housing, affordable, what we call additional processing plants, where you can come and add value in our agricultural products, value addition. We are getting a lot of that. We get produce from all of the region, and we want people who can bring, we do value addition. if it is in coffee, it is in tea, it is in any other produce. We are also looking quite heavily on the sides of mining. Kenya has good areas where a lot of mining can be done. Of course, starting with oil on the north and even down in the coast. If you're looking at coal within the Kitui area and many other areas where we have minerals, we have even gone in places like Nyakach. So we want to tell the world, Kenya is the place to be. And now that restrictions of visas are not there for Africans, karibu nyumbani, welcome home. In the cradle of man.
To Kenya, a one-stop shop for everything. And we are indeed quite happy for the fact that those visa restrictions have been lifted for all African nationals across the continent. Just remember that Kenya is part of the East African community that includes Uganda as well. So we in Uganda, in Tanzania, I think in South Sudan, DRC, do not have those restrictions. So, but other people on the African continent will enjoy the fact that the visa restriction has been lifted from them. Your Excellency, your parting words as we wrap up this morning.
Okay, thank you, Jane, for this opportunity. I want to say to all listeners, and especially those who come from the continent of Africa, that we must increase intra-trade within the continent. The future is in the 54 countries trading together. That is the only way we are going to show the rest of the world that we can speak as one. Africa will be respected if the 54 countries can speak as one, can trade as one. We want to see in the textile industry, Africans starting to dress and buy textile which are manufactured within Africa. We must look inwards. Every economy, big economies in the world are looking inwards. And that is my parting shot to Africa, and say, welcome to the cradle of man, Nairobi, Kenya. You are always welcomed. In Swahili we say, hakuna matata. There is no problem. Thank you and good day.
Excellency, Hakuna Matata indeed. A special thank you to my guest this morning, Ambassador Julius Kiama Kilonzo, who is not just a politician but a diplomat, and he has been, his last seat was Ambassador to Uganda from Kenya since 2018, and before that, in August 2014 until September 2018, he served as Kenya's ambassador to Turkey, and before that, before those current assignments, he served for 2 terms in the Kenyan Parliament, presenting present-day Kitui East constituency or Matiti constituency, and he also vied for the gubernatorial race in Kenya in the past election. So we have indeed been in real good company. As we wrap up Business Insight and make way for Mr. Sebale, who's in studio with me this morning before he takes over financial markets, let me get his thoughts on the lifting of visa restrictions in Kenya and what that means for Africa as we actually forge ahead for unified Africa trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Mr. Sebale, your take on the fact that visa restrictions have been lifted in Kenya.
Well, thank you so much, Jen, and very good morning, our viewers. I'm pretty excited, though worried as well, especially for Kenya, a country that has also been facing terror attacks. When you look at the recent few years, 2014, there was the Westgate attack. In 2011, there were some other attacks as well. So being so open seems to be so ambitious at the moment, especially to countries like Somalia, which is a threat to Kenya's security. But on the good side, I see a lot of potential for Africa to be able to actually increase the visa openness idea. According to the Visa Openness Index report, it's only 3 countries that are open completely to all African countries, and that is the Gambia, Seychelles, and Benin. If we could have Kenya adding to the list and then Uganda, probably we will be able to actually realize the dream of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area even earlier.
Yeah, and I think what you said was pretty poignant. Sometimes you need to take a risk in order to make real meaningful change, and the risk is lift all the visa restrictions and allow people to enter your country. And I think what is also important is if people from the West have the ability and accessibility into our countries, they can move anywhere. Yeah. They can move anywhere across the continent.
Absolutely.
I think it's also important for African people to be given that right to move through their own continent as they wish. And of course, like you said, the security apparatus is on hand to make sure that people abide by the law. Yeah. Without further ado, I have to thank you all for being with us since 7 a.m. in the morning. That is on the program Smart Means Business. That's a breakfast show here on Smart. I do the Business Insight, which is a 1-hour interview segment with business leaders across the African continent and across the world. On behalf of everyone here at Smart24 Television, on behalf of the producer of this program, Mr. Beam Isa, and so many others who ensure that you're able to watch us live and free in the comforts of your home all across Africa. Thank you so much for watching and for driving business.